Cordial greetings. We're the group 5 of English 3, and in this video, we're going to answer some questions about 9/11 event. Let's begin with the classmate, Sebastián.
Okay, my question is, have Americans overcome the 9/11 events? Although it is easy to forget that attack, in order to keep the innocent victims, many people post photographs of the victims and missing persons at Ground Zero. A witness stated that I was not able to forget the face of the innocent victims who were more. Their photos are everywhere in the phone booths, traffic lights, wall of subway station. Everything reminds me of a huge funeral with people quiet, crying, and sad, but also very kind.
Let's continue with Smith. My question is, are Americans still concerned about terrorist threats? Okay, in the 21 years since the September 11 attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, American concern about international terrorism has declined significantly. At its highest point in 2002, 9 out of 10 Americans consider international terrorism a critical threat to the United States. This widespread concern was understandable because it was just 1 year after the September 11 attacks. Today, most Americans still describe international terrorism as a critical threat, but at much lower levels than in the past. In the past 3 years, Americans have reached their lowest levels of threat perception since the Council began polling on this topic. 58% in 2022 and 54% in 2020. Partly, this concern has waned because there has not been an international terrorist attack in the United States for several years. Nonetheless, there are Americans who still remember as if it had happened recently. The tragic event that occurred marked a significant shatter in the United States. In 2021, they were asked to evaluate the impact that major events of the last few decades had on their personal life, and they respond by ranking the terrorist attacks of 9/11 in second place, 21%, only behind what was the immediate concern, the COVID-19 pandemic, 50%. And 9 out of 10 Americans say they remember exactly what they were doing and where they were at the time of the attacks. Very well. It's your turn, Lucero.
How have Muslims and Americans' lives changed after 9/11 events? Well, after 9/11, prejudice and rejection of Muslims increased because the religion of Islam was always perceived as violent. Americans began to repudiate and have a phobia of Muslims because of this tragedy. Muslims living in New York are said to feel marginalized. Aber Kawas shares her experience and says that when the attack happened, she was a child, and from then until 15 years later, she continues to see that rejection and has witnessed Muslims being arrested. The 9/11 attacks generated a significant change in the perception of security in the United States. People became more aware of terrorist threats and security at airports, public buildings, and mass events was intensified. The United States became involved in military conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq as part of the so-called war against terrorism, which had a lasting impact on the lives of service members and their families.
Let's continue with Lily.
Okay. My question is, what is the American government doing to receive the care feeling of the community? The U.S. government is taking various measures to reduce community their feeling. The Department of Homeland Security has introduced a new strategic framework to center terrorism and target violence with online the department's vision to reinvest in programs and efforts that have national security while incorporation key strategy change to address this. The government is also in the fight and prioritizing actual or potential terrorist centuries and developing a realistic strategy to keep the under control. Lastly, the government is committed to providing nuance and bias and another intelligence that policymakers federal and national law enforcement personnel need to protect US life interests anywhere in the world.
Very good. Now we're going to answer the question, what is the opinion of some politicians about war after 9/11? The opinions of politicians about war after 9/11 have been diverse and high-vol over time. For example, Sebastian.
Okay, so support for military action. Many politicians, especially in the immediate aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, supported military action in Afghanistan to root out the Taliban and target Al-Qaeda. There was broad bipartisan support for the invasion.
Okay, Lucero. Lucero, I'm sorry, your microphone. No voice. Follow.
Division over Iraq war. The invasion of Iraq in 2003 was more divisive among politicians, while many Republicans supported the decision made by George W. Bush administration. Some Democrats, like Senator Hillary Clinton, initially voted in favor of the Iraq War. However, over time, the war became increasingly controversial, and some politicians, including Senator Bernie Sanders, became vocal critics.
Lile, your turn.
Okay, concern over costs and consequences. Over the years, many politicians raised a concern about the human and financial costs of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. They question the long-term strategy, the impact on American service members and their families, and the enormous financial burden this conflict imposes.
Thanks, guys. And finally, the assessment and lessons learned. Over time, many politicians from both parties, including those who initially supported the wars began to resist and acknowledge the limitations and unintended consequences of the military interventions. Thank you very much for watching.